Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight to it. So today we're going to finish up, at least for now, our coverage of who are the Gentiles in the promises. And of course, who are the Gentiles in the promises of Abraham, and covered Ephraim and Manasseh. Because understanding Ephraim and Manasseh unlocks a large portion of the so-called New Testament. So let's get it. We're going to fill in some more holes, some things that we didn't cover last time, at least in the last lesson that I presented. So I wanted to start here. Of course, we got to build up, got to build some foundation. So stay with me. Let's get Genesis chapter 35. We got this last time. We talked about, verse 11 that says a nation and a company of nations, and Jacob's name being changed to Israel. Now we're just going to go down here to get verse 23 to show all of the sons of Israel. There's a reason that it's listed here. All right, so let's get that real quick. Genesis chapter 35 and verse 23, through verse 26.
The book of Genesis, chapter 35 and verse 23. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Zebulun.
Okay, so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah were born first, and then he had Dan and Naphtali, if I'm not mistaken. Then he went back. But anyways, keep going.
Verse 24, the sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin.
So this is important to understand too. Now, if you read the scriptures, you understand that Jacob, or Israel, his favorite sons really were Joseph and Benjamin. All right. And that played a part in a lot of the animosity that you see between the northern and southern kingdom. There's a reason that the scriptures give you, these different accounts in the scriptures, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 25, and the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali.
All right, keep going.
And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, which were born to him in Padanaram.
Yeah, Padanaram. That's
Padanaram.
Khan. So these are the 12 tribes, essentially these are 12 sons of Israel. But it's close to, being the 12 tribes of Israel, with a minor exception with Dan and Joseph here, replacing with Ephraim and Manasseh. But this is what the Bible is all about. These 12 tribes right here, all right, these 12 sons and their journey and what became of their progeny. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, think about it. At the end of the Bible, it talks about these 12 tribes, right? So we know that the Bible began talking about the 12 tribes, and we know at the end it talks about the 12 tribes of the children of Israel having the name of the 12 gates in the kingdom of heaven. So we need to figure out what happened in between the beginning and the end so we can understand exactly what the Bible is referring to in the Old and the New Testament. All right. Now we talked about this last time. Let's get this really quickly. Genesis chapter 48. And then really quickly, brother, you can read 1 through 4 again.
It's the book of Genesis chapter 48 and verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim.
So actually, this should get 1 and 4.
Go to 4 out.
Con.
Verse 4. And said unto me, behold, I will make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and I will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession.
Okay, so who was this promised to? It was to Manasseh and Ephraim, who represents eventually the northern kingdom, which we will talk about in a second. But you see, they were likened into a multitude. We don't see that again, and we saw that last lesson. All right, and for everlasting possession. You understand this verse? The New Testament makes a lot more sense to you. Now, one last thing I wanted to get here that we didn't touch on last time is talking about Manasseh. Well, we talked about it, but I didn't get anything on it. Causing to forget. Remember that. Manasseh, his name essentially means causing to forget or to be forgotten in another translation, essentially. So remember that these men were not named, these things. Their names did not mean these phrases for no reason. Okay, like Abraham was the exalted father. Okay, Israel or Jacob, once his name was changed, is the prince of the power because he's the prince of the Most High. Okay, power being God. All right, Manasseh, doubly fruitful. There's a reason that these men were named this. Remember Noah's rest. Now we fast forward all the way into the kingdoms again. So Moses delivered the children out of Israel. They conquered the land of Canaan and became Israel. You had the time of the judges, Samson, so on and so forth. You had King Saul, became the first king of Israel. Then you had King David, and then King Solomon. Now, this is pretty much following up right after Solomon's idolatry. So let's get 1 Kings chapter 12. And it says here, kingdom divided, Jeroboam rules Israel. Let's get verse 16.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 16. So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, what portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents.
To your tents, O Israel. So let's get the important part here, what the point that I want to get to. Let's get verse 19.
Verse 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day.
Okay, from the time this was written, Israel rebelled against the house of David. What does this mean? There was a split. There's a split between the northern kingdom, aka Israel, and the house of David, aka the southern kingdom or the kingdom of Judah. Okay, this is vital to understanding the New Testament, so don't look past it. Let's get verse 20.
Verse 20. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only.
See, remember, we have 12 tribes. We talked about that. 12 tribes that stem from the 12 sons of Israel. Okay. Now, from the time of the inception of these 12 sons, the rest of the Bible was always about these 12 sons. You only get the other nations when it pertains to these 12 sons. Other than that, you pretty much don't get the history on the other nations in the Bible. Okay, if so, you'd have chapters talking about the Pharaoh and his exploits, the different Greek kingdoms, all right, the Ishmaelites, things of that nature. They don't talk about the other nations. They only talk about the 12 sons of Israel. Okay, now this kingdom has split. So these 12 sons, they were once all together under David. Now they split. So 10 of them went one way and 2 went another. That's how you have the 2 kingdoms. Okay, I know some of what I'm saying, certain brothers already understand, but I'm saying that so, for those that don't, so they can try to piece it together, because it's vital to understand the New Testament. So let's keep on.
Verse 21. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, and 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon.
Okay, so we see that Benjamin and Judah were getting ready to fight the other 10 tribes. So you got 12 tribes in total. You got Benjamin and Judah, which makes up the southern kingdom. They getting 144,000 chosen men, warriors, to fight against the house of Israel. So you see here the animosity, all right, the vitriol between the 2 kingdoms, just because, they were kin, they were about to get into it. Now, this wasn't the first time this happened either. We talked about that in a previous lesson, but this is when it really started to culminate. And this ran all the way through, this animosity ran all the way through into the New Testament. But the point I wanted you guys to see is that you have Judah and Benjamin together. They ended up making the southern kingdom. Okay. But we still got 10 other kingdoms that have to be accounted for. Because we read in Revelation that the 12 gates of the kingdom of heaven is going to be named after the 12 tribes of Israel. So we need to know what happened to all 12 tribes. We can't just, focus on the southern kingdom. We got to know what happened with all the tribes. Since we got most of the point that I wanted to in 1 Kings chapter 12, let's get just as one verse here, 1 Kings chapter 15 and verse 6.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 15 and verse 6. And there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days of his life.
So there was war all the days of Rehoboam and Jeroboam's life between the northern and southern kingdom. Okay. Rehoboam was king over Judah. Okay. It says son of Solomon. So this is the would that be great grandson of no, that's Abijah, but this is the son of Solomon, so the grandson of David, the son of Solomon, the first king of Judah after the split of the kingdom of Israel. Okay, that's what Rehoboam is. But you see, first king of Judah. So there's a Judah and then there's an Israel. When you see Israel, most of the times, at least after this took place in history, this is only talking about the northern kingdom. And this is only talking about the southern kingdom, not just the tribe of Judah, but the tribe of Benjamin. So Benjamin and Judah, and then the other 10 tribes, from the other 10 brothers here that we read about. Not Benjamin, Naphtali, Dan, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Simeon, Zebulun, so on and so forth. Okay. So Rehoboam, he was king over the southern kingdom, and then you had Jeroboam. Why did y'all do that? Oh, that was me. So he was the first king over the northern kingdom of Israel. When the kingdom split at the death of Solomon, and the 10 tribes split off from Judah and Benjamin. You see, there was a split. It's not debatable. It's not my opinion. This is history. Documented history, well-documented history. Okay, so we have the 2 tribes, Benjamin and Judah. I'm repeating myself because we have to understand this, and then we have the other 10 tribes. Now, this is what we turned up with this. Okay, I guess we can go with this. This is what let me go back. That's two. Okay. This is what the kingdom of Israel used to look like, the 12 tribes of Israel, when they first got into the land and the land was split off. Joshua split off the land according to their lots. This is what it used to look like. This is all 12 tribes with their own land. Now, a lot of the tribes, they feel like they didn't get enough land. That became a big issue too. Okay, you can read about that in the book of Joshua. Now, this is after the split. Now, you see, first you used to have 12 tribes, Gad, Reuben, Dan, Ephraim, Manasseh, Zebulun, Asher, Naphtali, and then now you just got Israel and Judah. Okay. The kingdoms of Israel and Judah, 1 Kings chapter 12, we just read that. All right, so this is important. The reason I'm going over this, it is. Now, the next important thing that happened in history, let's get 2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 6.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 17 and verse 6. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria, took Samaria and carried away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in harbor by the river of Gazan and in the cities of the Medes.
Yeah, in the city of the Medes. So the king of Assyria took, the king of Assyria took Samaria, which is in the northern kingdom, and carried Israel away into Assyria. So picture this, because this literally happened. All of the hundreds of thousands of Israelites here, this is Samaria, they got carried out of the land into a foreign country, okay, into a foreign land. All right, so-called country, into a foreign land, into Assyria. So they got taken out. All right, this is important to understand. And why did they get taken out? Let's get verse 7.
Verse 7. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their power, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods.
Feared other gods. Let's get verse 8.
Verse 8. And walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel and of the kings of Israel, which they had made.
You see, they're saying Israel instead of Judah here, the children of Israel, because they're talking about the northern kingdom. So only the northern kingdom, this green part of our people, this is Israel, the green part right here, they got taken into Assyria because of sin, because the same iniquities that our people are doing today, walking in the statutes of the heathen, keeping Thanksgiving, 4th of July, all this nonsense that the Most High never told us to do. Okay, so we got cast out of the land. You understand? This is a big deal. Let's picture that now, like we just get taken up out this thing. Well, this ain't our land, so it's nowhere near as a big deal. But the point is, just picture a massive amount of people, being killed, massacred, and being taken away into a foreign land that's not theirs. All right, that's called a captivity. When you in a foreign land, or you could be even in your own land, but you have another nation over you, you're in captivity. Our people are in captivity right now. Okay, but that wasn't it. That was just the northern kingdom that got taken into captivity. One thing we didn't cover last time is what happened with the southern kingdom. Okay, let's get 2 Chronicles chapter 36, and then we can start at verse 18.
It's the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 36 and verse 18. And all the vessels of the house of God, great and small, and the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king and of his princes, all these he brought to Babylon.
Keep going.
And they burnt the houses of the Most High, and break down the wall of Jerusalem, and burnt all the palaces thereof with fire, and destroyed all the godly vessels thereof. So
they destroying the temple that Solomon created. Remember, Solomon created the temple? Okay, they destroying this. This is the southern kingdom. So at this time, Israel already gone. This whole portion, they gone. All right. Now, this portion, Judah, the southern kingdom, the same thing is happening to them. This was prophesied to happen in the book of Jeremiah several times. Okay. So the same fate is taking place on the southern kingdom, except for it's Babylon. The northern kingdom got taken into Assyria. The southern kingdom got taken into Babylon. And since the temple was located in Jerusalem, that's in the southern kingdom's territory, they tearing down the whole temple. Okay. Where we at, verse 19?
Con, just read 19.
Okay, let's get verse 20.
Con, verse 20. And them that had escaped from the sword carried he away to Babylon, where they were servants to him and his sons until the reign of the kingdom of Persia.
Okay, so southern kingdom got taken away into Babylon. All right. Just how the northern kingdom got taken to Syria, the southern kingdom got taken to Babylon. All right. Let's get verse 21.
Verse 21. To fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed her Sabbaths. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept the Sabbath, to fulfill 70 years.
So our people were in captivity in Babylon for 70 years. All right, the land needed to enjoy her Sabbaths. What does that mean? On the Sabbath, you rest. The land was filled with so much iniquity and sin and abomination that the whole land needed to rest. What does that mean? Both kingdoms were not in the land for those 70 years. They had to rest. So keep that in mind. Both kingdoms are gone. Israel, gone to Syria. Judah right here, gone to Babylon. They got taken out. You either killed or taken captive as a servant. This is mass tragedy, but the only reason the Most High allowed this to happen is because of us, because of our sin. Okay? We had precise commandments on what we were supposed to do, but we didn't do them. All right? We took an oath. All right? Which was at Mount Sinai. All right, we were under covenant. We were under a covenant that we didn't keep. That's why this happened. Okay, the Most High punishes his children more than he punishes the other nations. Okay, like you read about in Amos, the 3rd chapter, verse 1 and 2. Okay, now let's get a little bit more because this is important. I want y'all to notice something. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 52 and verse 28.
Because the book of Jeremiah, chapter 52 and verse 28. This is the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive in the 7th year, 3,000 Jews and 23.
Khan, so what do we see different here? We see the usage of the word Jews. This is different from what we've read, because up to this point, we've only seen the kingdom of Judah. We've seen the kingdom of Israel and Israel, but we haven't seen Jews yet. Jew is short for Judah. Okay. And that's pretty much it most of the time. If you do not understand that, it sounds like something I'm saying light, but if you don't understand that, when you're reading the New Testament, most of it is going to go over your head because you're going to assume this means all 12 tribes, and it's not. This is only referring to this, the southern kingdom, but this is only referring to the tribes, Judah and Benjamin. Okay, that's why we see Nebuchadnezzar, which was king of Babylon, he carried away Jews, he carried away the southern kingdom, but southern kingdom only. He couldn't carry these Israelites away because they were already gone. They were already out of the land. So they got split. Then the northern kingdom went to captivity, then the southern kingdom went to captivity. Now, at this time, they start being called Jews around this time, after the split. You read about that, like in the book of, I believe in the book of Nehemiah, Ezra, so on and so forth. You'll see the word Jews being used. Okay, so we had Jews being held captive. That is important to understand. All right. Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 8.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3 and verse 8. And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also.
So he put out both kingdoms, the southern and the northern kingdom, Israel and Judah. Okay, backsliding Israel, meaning we were committing, iniquities, committed adultery. That's spiritual adultery. Spiritual adultery is when you commit idolatry, essentially, because you are spiritually speaking here, you're sleeping with another God per se. Are you taking on that other God's doctrines and customs and keeping them when you're supposed to be keeping the statute, laws, and commandments? Okay. So Israel, the northern kingdom, was put away, given a bill of divorce. This is important to understand because they were called a no people. They were written out of the covenant, forgotten, causing to forget, made to be forgotten. Remember? That's what happened with the northern kingdom, but Judah too. Judah, his treacherous sister, Judah, played the harlot also. All right. So when you understand that the northern kingdom was kicked out because of spiritual idolatry, well, not spiritual idolatry, a spiritual fornication and adultery, then the New Testament starts to make sense. Another pivotal point. Let's get, we'll start at the top. Let's get Ezra chapter 1, verse 1.
It's the book of Ezra, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and to put it also in writing, saying.
So this king ruled after the 70 years of the Babylonian rulership. Let's keep going.
Verse 2. Thus said Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord Yahweh of heaven have given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he have charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah.
Which is in Judah. Okay, so what's happening here is, you know what? Let's get verse 3.
Verse 3. Who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord Yahweh of Israel. He is the power which is in Jerusalem.
So remember, we talked about Solomon's temple being destroyed. Now, Cyrus, king of Persia, he's commissioned for the building of the second temple. Okay, but only in Jerusalem, for the southern kingdom. Okay, so the southern kingdom, remember, verse 5.
Verse 5. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests and the Levites, with all them whose spirit the Most High had raised up to go to build the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem.
Now look at this. You only see Judah, Benjamin, and then the priests, being the Levites at this time, being mentioned. Why is that? Because the southern kingdom was the only kingdom allowed back in the land. After 70 years, Judah came back here to Israel. When I say Israel, the land of Israel. But the people here, the northern kingdom, or Israel, they never came back. They never came back to the land. So from here on, at least from a time standpoint in the Bible, you only read about the southern kingdom. That's why you see the word Jews being used. It's only the southern kingdom. But remember, we read in Revelation chapter 21 that the 12 tribes of Israel will be over the kingdom of heaven. So we got to account for the 10 tribes. Okay, where are they? Now, we did see the Levites mentioned here. Sometimes you'll see them mentioned with the southern kingdom. But those 9 to 10 tribes, we got to get those accounted for. All right, because we see there an end time prophecy. So what happened in between them? All right, because they gone. They didn't come back to the land. They weren't permitted back. They were called a no people. Okay, so what happened? Let's get 2nd Esdras chapter 13, and let's get verse 39.
The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13 and verse 39. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him.
Okay.
Those are the 10 tribes, which were carried away prisoners out of their own land.
So you see, the 10 tribes were carried out of their own land. Keep going.
In the time of Hosea, the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
We got to track these 10 tribes. Where are they at? Where are they at? After they got carried away out of their own land, where did they go? You can't act like, they just lost, the so-called white man try to tell you, oh, they're lost. There's lost tribes of Israel. We don't know what happened to them. That's what they'll try to get you to believe. Okay. One more verse 41.
Verse 41. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
Okay, so they got scattered, just like we read about last time. They got scattered. Now I got this history pulled up here. We're not going to get too much on this for real. Well, we could. This is actually a great article to read because it really confirms a lot of information, and it's come from the so-called white man. It's actually funny seeing them, admit some of this, because a lot of these guys don't really know what they're amend here. It says classical records of the Dorian and Danaan Israelite Greeks. Israelite Greeks? What? I thought Greeks, meant the so-called white man, Jew nor Greek. You read the highlighted part there.
The Corinthians were Dorian Greeks.
The Corinthians were Dorian Greeks. Keep on.
The Dorians were a tribe said to have invaded Greece, by all ancient accounts, a short time after the Trojan Wars.
So I get straight, you know what? I don't want to get too far off topic here, but you see this Danaan. Where does this come from? It comes from the tribe of Dan. Okay. The tribe of Dan made up a lot of the different peoples that we read about in the so-called New Testament, also just in history. All right, the more you read into this. Now let's get this highlighted part here.
It is my contention that the Dorians actually came from Dor in Palestine, a city on the coast of the land of Manasseh.
What? So the Greeks were Manassites? They came from Manasseh? Hold on now, keep going.
And where many ancient Greek artifacts have been found by archaeologists.
So, you can say, all right, you just talking, this is found to be true by archaeology. So again, who the New Testament Gentiles are, it never was a debate. All right, if you say that they're the other nations, it's just because you haven't yet found the archaeology. You just don't know the history, but it's not a debate. It's not a perspective. It's not an opinion, an interpretation. It's just real history. You got to deal with the truth, whether you want to or not. All right, it says the 7th century BC is the last recorded Syrian activity in Israel. For evidence that Israelite priests were indeed present at Dor. So what this is saying is, okay, so for the evidence that Dorians were Israelites. So what we're seeing here essentially is that in Greece, we had our people there. We used to be called Greeks. That's why you read that in the so-called New Testament. But did you see who was mentioned? Manasseh. Remember what Manasseh's name was, causing to forget, or the forgotten one. because once they scattered, because Manasseh was part of the northern kingdom, once they were scattered, they were made to be forgotten. Okay, they were called other names like Greeks, okay, Trojans. Yes, when you watch the movie Troy, those were Israelites as well. Okay, you have a testimony of that also in the scriptures in the book of Maccabees. It's right here. We won't go into it right now, but again, that's what happened to the northern kingdom. They got scattered into other lands and they start going by other names because they no longer were keeping the statute, laws, commandments. They weren't even doing anything close to it. It was worse than when they were in the land. Because they at least were calling themselves by their tribe and everything. Now they start calling themselves all different types of names, like Greeks, all right, and Spartans, and Trojans, all right, Corinthians, things of that nature. Okay, but again, this is a great article. Brothers really need to read all the way through this because it gives you, different things like archaeology and things you can look up that's precise, that will let you know, exactly who our people were. Now, I believe I got a little bit more on prophecy here. Let's get Ezekiel chapter 36 and let's get straight to it, verse 19.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36 and verse 19. And I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries, according to their way and according to their doings, I judged them.
Keep that in mind. So the children of Israel were scattered among the heathen. Okay. Even to the point where they're being called heathens. But that's all that was. This is the northern kingdom that never came back to the land after the split, that hasn't been accounted for. If you believe that the Gentiles in the New Testament is always referring to the other nations, then you got to tell me where these 10 tribes are in. Tell me where that's at in scripture. They in Revelation 21, but we don't know what happened to them between the time of now all the way into the time of the kingdom of heaven. When Yahushua comes back, what sense does that make? All right, because they in here. They here in the Bible. All right. Been dispersed. Let's get John chapter 7, verse 35.
The book of John, chapter 7, and verse 35. And it reads, Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?
Dispersed among the Gentiles. That's where our people were. All right, the so-called Gentiles themselves. And if you look at the word disperse here, what you see? Diaspora. Anybody that's familiar with other belief systems, you've seen that word diaspora before. And it's normally referring to the so-called black man, right? When you ever heard of a so-called white diaspora? Okay, it says a scattering, dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. B says of Christians scattered abroad among the Gentiles. Do better. A Christian scattered, where's your precepts for this, man? There's no Christians scattered among the Gentiles. The proper definitions here would be of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. Okay? That's what you're reading about in the New Testament. It's really that simple when you get down to it. Let's get a classic. James chapter 1, verse 1.
It's the book of James, chapter 1, and verse 1. James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greeting.
Greeting. So after Israel got taken into Assyria, this northern kingdom here, they got taken out of the land. They got scattered amongst all nations of people to the point where they were there and they were called the names of the people there, aka American today. You're called an American. All right. But are you truly American? Is that your heritage? Are you from this land? When I say from, are your people originally from this land? Is this your land? Even be calling yourself American, you know, it lines up. So let's get let's skip to verse 24. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 33 and verse 24.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 33 and verse 24. Considereth thou not what this people have spoken, saying, the two families which the Lord hath chosen, he hath even cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them.
The northern kingdom were considered no more a nation. That's why they were called Gentiles. They were taken out of that thing, man. But you know what? The Most High promised that this wouldn't be forever. That's why you read about the New Testament, where you have our people coming back into the fold, because this was a promise that the Most High made. Let's get the next verse.
Verse 25. Thus saith the Lord, if my covenant be not with day, so like if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth, then I will cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them.
Okay, when you see captivity return, it could be read as, oh, we're going to captivity again. No, this means captivity taken away. That's why it says, have mercy on them. But as you see, over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this is what the Bible is really about. Okay, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob ruling, falling off, coming back into the fold, falling off, coming back in the fold, falling off, and then finally at the end, coming back into rulership forever. That's what the Bible is actually about. Okay. But the Most High is making a promise here, unless the covenant with day and night, and I have not appointed ordinance of the heaven and earth, then will I cast away the seed of Jacob. So meaning no. All right, we still had an ordinance of day and night. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 35 and 36.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31.
Salat, actually, let's get verse 37.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31 and verse 37. And it reads, thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will cast off all the seed of Israel for all they have done, saith the Lord.
So this is why you see the so-called white man trying to measure everything, the foundations of the earth. He's trying to get this prophecy to fail here. All right, he's trying to measure the heavens above, got satellites and things like that, you know, waiting on your Yahushua's return. They not worried about what's down under. They trying to see what's going to come from above. And the foundations of the earth search out beneath. Then will I cast off the seed of Israel. They trying to make this come to pass, but it's not going to happen because they can't measure these things. Okay. And that was a promise. Now, quickly here, I just wanted to show that we were called heathens as well. When I say us, the children of Israel. So you can't even be shaken up by that. Like you read in Galatians, the 3rd chapter, it's not referring to the other nations. Let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 2 and verse 33 and 34.
Book of 2nd Ezra chapter 2 and verse 33. And it reads, I, Ezra, received a charge of the Most High upon Mount Horeb, that I should go unto Israel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught and despised the commandment of the Lord.
Yeah, that's should go into Israel. Keep going.
And therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen.
Oh, ye heathen is talking about the children of Israel. But when you despise the commandments of the Lord, you liken it to a heathen still today. Okay. Even if you're of the seed line of the children of Israel, if you turn your face on the Most High, you're a heathen. Straight up. And a heathen is someone of another nation that's not the children of Israel, the 12 tribes. In church, they tell you a heathen is just anybody that sins or something to that extent. You know, they throw that word around to soften it. But heathen is someone of another nation. All right, I had Hosea 1 and 10, but we'll go back there. We got that plenty of times. Let's get Ephesians chapter 10, chapter 2 and verse 10.
It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse 10. For we are his workmanship, created in Hamashiach Yahushua, unto good works, which the Most High have before ordained that we should walk in them.
Before ordained. If this was referring to the heathen being the other nations, when were they ever ordained to walk in the Most High statute, laws, and commandments? That happened in the book of Deuteronomy and Exodus and Leviticus. It's referring to the 12 tribes, okay? Before ordained. The heathen were never called by his name, okay? Where's that precept is in the book of Isaiah. Where is that at? He were not called by his name. Let me look at so matter of fact, let's get verse 11 while I'm looking this up.
Verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands.
So it says, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh. Remember, we just read in 2nd Esdras chapter 2 where the children of Israel likened it to heathens. Why? Because of the customs that they were keeping. But we were so far removed that we were called Gentiles. Okay, it's simple. Let's get verse 12.
Verse 12. That at that time ye were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope, and without the Most High in the world.
So at that time you were without Christ. When we were in these other lands, I think I'm about to pull this up really quickly. Okay, really quickly, just for that point I was saying earlier. Isaiah 63. Yeah, verse 19. Get that real quick.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 63, and verse 19. We are thine. Thou never bearest rule over them. They were not called by thy name.
The heathens were not called by the Most High's name. So when you read back here in verse 10, where it says, which the Most High hath before ordained that we should walk in them, this is not talking about the heathen. They were never commissioned to walk in the statute, laws, commandments of the Most High. Only the 12 tribes were. Okay, they were not called by his name. Now, again, at that time, you were without Christ. So when we got taken out of the land, the northern kingdom, we weren't walking in none of the ways of Christ at this time. All right, again, we were calling ourselves different names like Dorians and Greeks and Spartans and Trojans. Okay, Athenians, things of that nature. So that's what Ephesians is talking about. And that's why it says being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. Now, if this was referring to the other nations, why does it say from the commonwealth of Israel? Why? Strangers from the covenants of promise. Remember, we were called a no people. Okay, having no hope and without the Most High in the world. Verse 13.
Verse 13. But now in Hamashiach Yahushua, ye who sometimes were far off, are made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach. So
spiritually and physically, we were far off. So we were far off in other lands, but spiritually, we were not close to the Most High and his son. Okay, but we made near, okay, by the blood of Hamashiach. That was one of the major reasons that Yahushua came on the scene. Okay, verse 14.
Verse 14. For he is our peace, who have made both one, and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us.
He hath made both one. the split. He made Judah and Israel one. This is what it's referring to. The heathen being the other nations, and the Israelites, they have never been made whole. They were never one together. We were always called to be separate. All right. Be holy and separate. All right. Set apart. How you gonna be made whole with someone you were set apart with? That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. It says the middle wall partition between us. So this wall here, partition, all right. Remember, it said that, is that in in 17:2, it said that Rehoboam and Jeroboam was at war. Okay, the northern southern kingdom was at war. When Yahushua came on the scene, he mended all of that. So that both kingdoms, all Israel, all 12 tribes will be back together. Okay? That's what you read about when you see Gentiles. That's why it says here, Gentiles in the flesh. That's what you read about. So now we take an account of the other 10 tribes, because if not, you wouldn't be able to explain why Revelation chapter 21 has all 12 tribes listed as far as being in the gates in the kingdom of heaven, but then we have no account of where they went. So they just not keeping any of the Most High's ways, and then now they back on the front of the kingdom. Not making sense. It's because they came back into the fold. Okay. Hosea, matter of fact, let's get this real quick. Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10.
It's the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 10. And it reads, "Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people."
Like, when the last time, you went somewhere and somebody recognized you as the son of the living God? Have y'all been told that, especially by some of the other nations or somebody that don't know of our people?
Nope.
Amen. So it sounds like to me that we in that place right now, in the place where it'll be said unto them, you are not my people. That's said unto you right now. Right now, you a nigga and nigger, spick, all these different bywords, Negro, but you're not called the people of the Most High. Let's keep going.
Ye are not my people. There it should be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
You're the sons of the living God, though. But that's not said unto you in that place right now where you're not recognized. Okay, verse 11.
Verse 11. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together.
So, like, you see that? Judah and Israel. Judah and Israel. That's why the scriptures talk about those two kingdoms coming together so much, because it shows how much animosity and how separate we really were. Okay? That's why you read about in the book of Acts chapter 10, 12, 15, so on and so forth, where you have the Gentiles coming back. That's why it was, a great thing to the apostles that understood. But the southern kingdom, the Jews, are the Pharisees, why they were tripping, because, they had hate in their heart towards their own people, because they weren't in the land. They were just coming back. That's the animosity. Nobody's mad at the other nations just because this is like a bad family reunion or something, man. You got one side of the family coming back in. Mothers have missed the last 10 family reunions. Now they come back like everything all good, eating up all the food. Okay? That's what this is likening to. It wasn't because you had two whole separate families coming together in the New Testament. All right, now, this is a broad view because, each scripture that somebody could prevent that has the word Gentiles that appears to be talking about the other nations, that has to be analyzed separately. But this gives you the broad overview so you'll understand these things so you can re-examine it and say, okay, maybe this is not referring to the other nations. Okay. But matter of fact, we can finish this out. Keep on.
Con. And appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel.
That's when Yahushua coming back. Okay. That Judah and Israel be gathered together and point themselves one head. That's Yahushua. Okay. But you see, it doesn't say the children of Israel and Judah and the other nations. Where is that verse at? Okay, you only see Jews and Gentiles, Jews or Greeks, because it's talking about the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. Okay, being called these bywords. I already showed you here in history with archaeology that proves that our people were called, the tribes of Dan and Manasseh, they were called Greeks. That's just history. You got to deal with it. I ain't make it up. It's just there. You got to deal with it. Like verses like this will get you thrown off, but when you know the history, you can take the time to examine it. Let's get Acts chapter 10 and verse 28.
Come, this is the book of Acts, chapter 10 and verse 28. And he said unto them, ye know how that it's like you. Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation.
So a Jew, remember, Jew, southern kingdom. So it's unlawful for a man that is a Benjamite or a Judite to keep company or come into one of another nation. The word nation here is also likened into tribe. Let's keep going.
But the Most High have showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean.
It's just talking about the northern kingdom. They were unclean, considered unclean, at least to our people. So he's saying that I'm not going to call my own brothers and sisters, unclean anymore, because they were called to be cleansed, like you read about in, I believe, Ezekiel, the 36th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So it says right here, of another nation. But the word just says foreign. When they find something they don't like, they don't give you no type of definition for it. All right, they just get foreign. All these words have got these deep breakdowns, 12 different definitions, just say foreign. Why is that? Because it says one of another nation. Foreign, Gentile, one of another nation. But if you look here, that word there, let me go back. It says from G243 and G5443. So this word, another or other. So it says from one word, which is another. We already got that. And what is this word? Tribe. In the New Testament, all the persons descended from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob, a nation people. So when you get the definition, you read in a translation as of another nation, but it's really of another tribe, literally. If this was translated another way, using the same words that was intended to be here, it would literally say, are coming to one of another tribe. Okay, I'm not making this up. This is literally here that the so-called white man has wrote himself. Okay, that's why it's important to go into the definitions. It's right here. Of another tribe, a nation of people. In the New Testament, all the persons descended from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. So we know Acts 10 was dealing with the patriarch Jacob and his 12 tribes, his 12 sons being the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so if you think Acts 10, 1 is talking about the dietary law, stop it. And 2, if you think it's talking about the other nations, then just read it again with a different lens. Okay. Now, let's see. we'll cover this real quick and then we'll wrap it up. Let's get Acts chapter 15 and verse 13.
The book of Acts chapter 15 and verse 13. And after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me.
Verse 14.
Simeon hath declared how the Most High at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name.
Okay, this is what we just read about Acts 10. The visit of the Gentiles of another tribe, meaning of the northern kingdom. Don't get caught up by the word Gentiles. It's just a translation. And literally, let's see, I think I got, yeah. So the definition of Gentile anyway, if you look it up, see Gentiles, nation, heathen, just says a multitude. We know that was Ephraim. Company, swarm, a multitude of individuals of the same nature or genus. The human family, a tribe, nation, people group. So why are most of these definitions not saying a group of Edomites, a group of Elamites, a group of Asians, of the Asian man? It's not saying that because that's not what was going on. Okay, and they know that. They put here in one of the definitions, but they know that's all. Okay, so the point is the Gentiles were the unaccounted for northern kingdom Israelites. And if you don't agree, it's okay. Just show me where these Israelites went then, because we know they got scattered. Don't give me, well, we don't know where they are, because Revelation 21 clearly accounts for them. Okay. And we know they have to be keeping the statute, laws, and commandments to be given the kingdom. That's clear in the Bible as well. So they can't be too lost, where they just lost, we don't know where they are, and they ain't keeping the Most High's laws. That don't add up. So man, that's good time. Yeah, that's, oh, we'll end with this. You know what? What else I got? I had some others just in case. Yeah, okay. Let's end with what we can get to last time too. Let's get Romans chapter 9. You could start at verse 1 and go all the way to verse 5. Verse 4.
It's the book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. And it reads, I say the truth in Hamashiach, I lie not. My conscience also bear me witness in the Holy Spirit.
Okay, if you believe in the Holy Spirit, and you believe in Paul's letters, then you'll hearken to this. Keep going.
That I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart.
All right, why is that?
For I wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
According to spiritual Israel, you said?
According to the flesh.
According to my church?
According to the flesh.
According to my pastor?
According to the flesh.
To the flesh. Okay, that's who Paul's brethren is. It's according to the flesh. Your skin is part of your flesh. So look, and skin is, I'm the first one to tell you about that. However, the point is that this is according to flesh. This is not a spiritual Israel. All the other nations are not magically another nation spiritually. Paul said, my kinsmen according to the flesh. Deal with it. Deal with it. Let's get verse 4.
Verse 4, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of the Most High and the promises.
And the promises that we read about in Genesis chapter 12, 15, 22, 35. Those are the promises that were given to the Israelites. They were never given to other nations. So when you see the word Gentiles, most of the time, I'm not going to say every time, because there are times when it is referring to other nations, but anytime it's referring to anything you see here listed, the covenants, the glory, the giving of the law, the services of the Most High, the promises, the adoption, which is about the northern kingdom. It's referring to the Israelites according to the flesh, Paul's kinsmen. You believe in the Holy Spirit, right? Then you got to believe this. You believe in Christ, then you got to believe this. There's no other way around it. All right. That's just a broad view. There's other lessons that we can do to, break down the times that word Gentiles used, but that's pretty much it, man. With that, shalom.